The Senate hearing was about the marketing of dietary supplements, and unfortunately, no one is more effective at that than Dr. Oz.
Oz's advice is so influential that one mention of a product can cause sales to skyrocket. The phenomenon even has its own name, the Dr. Oz effect.
Well, what's so wrong with that? Name me one case where a man named Oz claimed mystical powers and led people horribly astray. Name me one case. You can't do it.
When it comes to weight loss products, it's hard to know which ones are legit.
Absolutely. That's right. Dr. Shelby Tierstrup with Stanford Health is with us today to talk about that. So, I mean, the Senate hearing, you saw Dr. Oz, and he was getting blasted by the Senate about some of the claims he makes. So one of the things he talks about is it Garcinia cambogia?
Yes.
So what's the real story on this?
Well, Garcinia cambogia is a plant that's used in Asian cooking. And the outside of the plant has a substance called, and I got to get to my notes here, hydroxycitric acid. And what they found in rats is that this would inhibit the fat production enzyme. So there was some great excitement. And when you hear Dr. Oz, it's like a miracle drug. But when it came to actually testing it in humans, what they found in a large study where we compared placebo to the actual drug, no effect. When we looked at a bunch of smaller other studies and combined all of that, it was about 2-pound weight loss over this period of time. So I don't think it's a miracle drug, unfortunately, but maybe a little bit of effect. But it has to be combined with diet and exercise.
And go ahead,
No,
diet
that's
and
okay.
exercise.
I mean, that's the underlying message here.
Which is really too bad that Dr. Oz is pushing it, because I believe him. He's connected to Oprah, and you hear what he says, and you believe what he says.
Yeah, and I think what's hard is there's the excitement of the show and trying to bring some, what he calls some magical language and some excitement about different studies that are going on, and we all have that excitement when we have new studies that are interesting and intriguing that could affect a large population of people. And I think the underlying thing for people is when they're watching those shows or any thing about new products, it's what is the effectiveness, what's the safety, and what are the interactions. And that goes for your prescription medication and any other supplement that you take.
Is there any, do you know if he's getting any kickbacks from these companies?
Well, he says no. He says no. But it's hard to know.
But he's probably paid to do the talk show and could be a sponsor or something. I mean,
correct.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Raspberry ketones. That's another apparent weight loss supplement.
Yep.
Yeah.
So raspberry ketones was big and hot on his talk show as well. And what raspberry ketones is it's what gives raspberry its smell and aroma. And it's used to flavor different perfumes and different foods. And so, there was some excitement because also lots of animal studies, which is the first kind of way we test new products to test safety and effectiveness, looked very promising. The unfortunate thing is that it hasn't really been tested in humans except for one study that looked at a combination of garlic and capsaicin and ginger and raspberry ketones, and that showed a modest weight loss in that. But hard to know what to make of how much was raspberry ketones. They don't even tell us the amount of raspberry ketones in that product. So I think by itself, really not good data. We don't have safety data for it, and we don't know of any, what it interacts with as well. So I give this one a thumbs down.
Okay. So what's the premise of a ketone? Is it do something to the fat solubility? Or
well, let's see. They don't know the effect of it. They don't know why.
Which is why it's getting a thumbs down. All right. So the next one, green coffee bean extract. That's another one that's been pumping. They're pumping out there as a weight loss supplement.
Yep, it is. And so coffee beans, as they go through their roasting process, they lose this product called chlorogenic acid. Okay. And chlorogenic acid is what's found in apples and cherries and a lot of other fruit. And there is a thought that this can reduce insulin resistance, can increase our ability to break down fat. So some exciting stuff. When we don't roast them, which is green coffee beans, then we still retain that chlorogenic acid. So what created this kind of magic on the Dr. Oz show was one study, 16 patients, so a small study. It was also funded by the maker of the product. So that leads to some bias, of course. But the people in that study lost 17 pounds in let's see, 6 weeks.
Collectively?
On average.
Okay.
So averaged out 17 pounds. Compared to those when they didn't use that medication. So that was kind of some buzz. I mean, that was actually pretty exciting, knowing that there's some bias in that because it's studies that's supported by the company.
Yeah.
So then subsequently, Dr. Oz did a kind of pseudo study with 100 of his guests in the audience and had 50 of them take the substance, 50 of them take placebo. And over 2 weeks' time, the people who did take the medication lost 2 pounds on average.
Oh.
So, you know, small studies. Yeah. I think, you know, we don't know of really any harmful effects of the medication except that it acts like caffeine. So if you get restless from caffeine or if you get insomnia from caffeine, you're going to get that with the coffee bean extract.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you know you're part of a study, you're going to watch what you eat more, you're probably going to exercise more.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of variables that...
And that's why you always, when you're really looking at good studies, you want to know that it's been compared to placebo because, you know, ideally the person doing the study will not know what they're on. And so it'll kind of wash out that effect of trying to, you know, perform while you're on a study.
So thumbs down to the last one
I
too?
think this is a
Middle of the road?
maybe.
Okay.
I mean, this out of any of them, this would be one that I may try, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the data's weak so far, but I think it's intriguing. And I think the bottom line is that always introduce one new thing at a time. Do not introduce multiple things. See how it affects your body before, you know, going on multiple things. And remember, these are drugs too.
Dr. Shelby Tierstrup, thank you so much. We appreciate your insight. We'll be right back.